Hello, Monetization Nation. Welcome back to the second episode of a Monetization Nation interview with Redge Allen. In the previous episode, we went through Redge's story and how he became a revolutionary entrepreneur. We discussed the importance of building skyscrapers on land we own, creating relationships with our clients, recognizing the lifetime value of a customer, and maintaining credibility and transparency. In this episode, we will discuss gamification Redge and I have implemented to help us achieve our goals. Proper goal setting and careful, thought-out plans of action can help us in many ways. They can help us become a better person, spouse, parent, entrepreneur, etc. Redge and his system for gamifying goals has had a big impact on the goals I have set for myself in recent years. Some of my goals I have tried to do for years and have failed at for years. But by implementing a system of gamification, I've become more successful with my goals. The inspiration for my goal gamification came from a TEDx Talk that Redge Allen gave called 5 Minutes of Courage, which is about habits. You can find the link to this TEDx Talk in the blog post for this episode. The second episode with Redge explores the methods he has adopted in gamifying his goals, as well as in helping others to reach their goals. Tectonic shifts are constantly transforming the earth and business, causing destruction and huge growth opportunities. I'm Nathan William, the host of Monetization Nation, where we learn how to leverage business tectonic shifts to transform monetization. So I am in the middle of a 365-day goal. I'm trying to be consistent with something every single day for a year. And you are one of the biggest parts of the inspiration of that goal. And you gave a TED Talk years ago where you talked about habits and 5 Minutes of Courage, I think is the name of that TED Talk, that really inspired me and has helped motivate me to kind of gamify, to gamify many of the goals that I have in my life. And they're working very well for me. I'm publishing every day, and I'm eating a lot healthier, and I'm exercising a lot more. And a lot of those things that I've tried to do for years and failed at for years, but by implementing a system of gamification, I'm being much more successful. And if anybody that wants to learn more about that can go to my second blog post in my entire blog, and you'll see a link to Redge's TED Talk in that blog post. Redge, can you tell us a little bit more about your method for gamifying goals and why it's so much more successful, and maybe some of the success you've seen with other people that have used your method?
Yeah, absolutely. And first, by the way, Nathan, you're doing a great job with yours. I'm pleased to be connected with your goals, and I know that you've met a number of those goals in terms of some of your health, moving in the weight direction you'd like, and a few of those special things that are meaningful to you. I think
you know the one that's the most meaningful for me of all of my goals so far is I sat down before I set my goals and said, okay, what do I really want to achieve? What's most important? And then I set my goals based upon what's the most important thing I can do to achieve that most important thing. And I wanted stronger relationships with my immediate family members. And I've been striving to take each of my daughters and my wife on a date each week. And I have 3 daughters, and that was not something I was doing before. And that has made a huge difference. Just that simple act of taking them out for an ice cream cone once a week, or, playing a unicorns card game once a week, just making time for what really matters. So thank you for giving me a system to do that.
I love that you've been listing their names lately too, this last week or two, because there's something powerful about when we focus on our behaviors and we have success with our behaviors, writing that down and having evidence of it allows us to be able to see it. So when you've been listing the names of those of your girls and your wife, you see that it becomes more real, and it allows for momentum to continue. I'm a big proponent of identifying what behaviors it is that I can control for my success, and doing those things daily and having those compounded into something incredible. So for instance,
what Redge is talking about here real quick, just to give context to the listeners or watchers, is Redge is one of my accountability partners. And each day I report how I do on my goals on a spreadsheet. And then I have 10 men that are 10 of the men I respect most on this planet that are my accountability partners that go in and hold me accountable. So on those goals, I have a row where I report whether or not I did the dates with my wife and daughters, and I write the name of the person that I did the date with. Okay, go ahead, Reg.
No, that's perfect. So for me, I've been spending a lot of time, I think it's probably been maybe 10 years or so, where I used to be morbidly obese, and I just thought, I don't know how I'm ever going to break this pattern. And I think sometimes people set goals where they'll say things like, oh, I hope that I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, losing 50 pounds is a lot harder to control than it is to say, I'm only going to eat for these amount of hours per day, or I'm going to make sure that I sweat and exercise this many minutes every day. If I spend my effort on things that I can control, then I can guarantee success in my own way, versus spending my efforts and resources into things that I can't control, at least not entirely. And so what you've done, Nathan, by identifying the behaviors daily that move you to who you want to be and who you are, that is where the power is. And I think sometimes entrepreneurs and others spend so much energy thinking about things that they can't control that they forget about what daily behaviors will absolutely move them to what they want for the future. It's like, well, I'd really like to have $10,000 a month in reoccurring revenue. That's awesome. That's really awesome. What are you going to do to have 10 this month?
Yeah. What are you going to do today to get you closer to the goal? And what are the things that if you did every single day, you will reach that 10,000 goal, but focus on what you can do today.
Exactly.
Every day.
Instead of waiting, I'm going to wait until the idea comes that I can get 10,000 this month. No, why don't you get 10 today?
Yeah.
People laugh at me and think this is crazy, and I'm sure it is crazy, but I have a gumball machine in my house. My kids develop quarters and earn quarters, and they put it in my gumball machine. It's so silly, but I'll bet every month, $30 end up in that gumball machine every month. And you know what I do for that money? Nothing. Once a month, I open that thing out. I take the quarters out. The kids feel good about it. That's convenient. And someone might say, well, you shouldn't be making money from your kids. I think that they're learning an important lesson. But I do nothing for that money from that gumball machine other than take it.
And you probably go do things for your family with that money anyway. So
they're not going without. But those daily behaviors, I think, for entrepreneurial mindset and for spending time, when you talk about a tectonic shift, or you talk about a change in monumental shifts, one of those to me is the movement from being acted upon and thinking that things just happen, versus those that make things happen and having an internal focus of control, where all of a sudden I realize I can be the author, I can be the creator, and I can have something come from nothing from my actions that I choose today. Yeah. And that's, I was driving last night in my, we went to dinner with some friends last night, and I had the woman that was going with us for dinner drive my car, and it's one of those cool Teslas that I love. And
you've taken me for a ride in, and I loved. That's an awesome car.
She said, man, I think that Elon Musk is changing the world. And I thought, yeah, he is changing the world. Yeah, he's changing the world from what he's doing today. I can't imagine what his 10-year plan looks like, but I can tell you what he's doing today. And he's not doing it based on the way everyone's always done it.
That's right. That's right. He's looking at it differently. So would you go back to your TED Talk really quick and give us just a quick summary of what your strategy is? What is it you taught people? And how have you been so successful yourself in losing weight and reaching your goals and helping other people to reach their goals?
So what ended up happening is, originally when I wanted to lose weight, I realized that there was something lacking for me, and I didn't lack discipline. It was more like I just needed the structure to know how to be successful. And so what ended up happening was I started using technology to publish my goals, my daily behaviors. I started with a Google document. I've later moved on to an app that I use called Habit Share. But basically, I'm inputting in the daily behaviors that I plan to have. I'm then finding accountability partners who care about my success, who are willing to check my goals daily and to see if I completed them. And I do the same for them, and it reciprocates that way. And then on top of that, I also define, this is where it gets a little crazy. Whenever I state that I'm going to do something, I'm always looking to build trust within myself by doing what I say I'm going to do. And I commit that if I ever don't do what I said I'll do, I'm willing to have a consequence take place. And this, so for me, a consequence, I've done all kinds of things. I've said before, hey, if I don't go work out today, I commit that I'm going to donate $100 to the person I most dislike politically. Well, that's a pretty strong motivator. And make no mistake, I've stroked a check to those people before. But the idea here is that if the consequence I create is more painful than the pain of doing the goal, then I'll do the goal every time. Or very rarely will I miss. So I think for me, the principle is personal accountability with external help and validation, and leveraging a consequence against what it is I care most about. I still to this day have goals and behaviors that I do every single day, period. I've already updated for the day. I do every day. And they change from time to time as my priorities shift and change. But right now, I can tell you that I didn't eat very many carbs in the last 24 hours. And I can tell you that I'm zoned in on spending time with meditating and focusing every day. I'm zoned in on meaningfully connecting with my wife every day. I'm doing the things each day that I believe lead me to where I want to be. And that's powerful.
That is. So you've gamified your goals by having accountability partners, by reporting every day to your accountability partners, and by having a negative financial consequence if you don't reach your goals.
Yes.
Okay, I love it. And this model works. I've been applying it in my life, and my hardest thing is getting up at 5:30, and my biggest motivation is I don't want to have to pay. I've committed that I'll pay $100 to the University of Utah football program. That's my biggest rival, and I do not want to have to pay that money. And that's my biggest motivation to get up at 5:30. But as a result, that getting up at 5:30 is a keystone habit for me. And if I get up at 5:30, right, I get my scriptures in, I get my exercise in, and I get my professional education in, and those things that happen if I create that time in the morning that just don't happen if I get up and have to dive into all of my commitments. That's really important. So thanks for helping me do that. Thank you so much, Redge, for sharing your stories and goal gamification strategies with us today. Here are some of my key takeaways from this episode. Number 1, goal gamification is a great way to help us reach our goals. Number 2, we need to identify the most important actions that will help us achieve the most important goals. Number 3, let's take control where we can and focus on what is within our control. Number 4, do something today and consistently work towards our biggest goals. Number 5, find others who will help us by holding us accountable for our daily goals and habits. Number 6, leverage positive and negative consequences to help motivate us to reach our goals. If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more about Redge or connect with him, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile on the blog post for this episode. You can also watch his TEDx Talk, 5 Minutes of Courage, and there's a link to that as well in the blog post for this episode. Did you like today's episode? Then please follow these channels to receive free digital monetization content. Number 1, get a free monetization assessment of your business and subscribe to the free Monetization e-magazine at monetizationnation.com. Number 2, you can subscribe to the Monetization Nation podcast and YouTube channel. And number 3, please follow Monetization Nation on Instagram and Twitter. What strategies have you used to help reach your goals? Please join our private Monetization Nation Facebook group and share your insights with other digital monetizers. Thanks for joining me for today's episode. I wish you success in your efforts to achieve your goals. Do you want to become a better digital monetizer? To receive great monetization stories and secrets, please go to monetizationnation.com and join free. And if you liked today's episode, please subscribe to the show and share it.